Hi, I'm Chris Giamo, and at TD Bank, we believe all citizens need to be informed about the important financial issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, Georgian Court University. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. Verizon. And by NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. Turn a dream into a degree.
Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We are coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. We welcome back, it's been a while, but we're glad we have him back. He is Steve Kalafer, chairman of Flemington Car and Truck Country Family of Brands and of the great Somerset Patriots Baseball Club. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
By the way, let everyone know the Somerset Patriots play in Somerset.
Let's play at TD Bank Ballpark, opening April 27th, the winningest team in the history of the Atlantic League.
Do you still have our friend Sparky connected to you, Sparky Lyle?
Sparky Lyle is the only manager emeritus in baseball.
Great.
When I said, Sparky, you're going to be emeritus, he says, what's that? I said, really, what you want to know is how much does it pay? So it all worked out.
And by the way, Steve is, we share something else. He's a great Yankee fan, and he's been at all the important Yankee events. I see you right there. They're a great team. Let's hope for a great season. Let's move from schmoozing about baseball to talking about policy. I say the Trump tax plan and its impact on business. You say?
Good. And let me tell you why it's good. There is corporate America and there's entrepreneurial America. Entrepreneurial America are another form of corporations. Without entrepreneurs, nothing happens. My concern for the state of New Jersey is that there is this fog of now this outmigration that everybody's talking about. Well, it's happening. It happened before the Trump
Meaning
tax.
Losing people?
Losing.
What kind of people are losing and what's their income
You're losing
level?
high-income people, period. An example of myself. I'm a maximum taxpayer, happy to do it, prideful to do it. But this state, and it's not Republican or Democrat, not that, this state treats entrepreneurs with contempt. They collect money, they expect to get it the day after tomorrow and the tomorrow after that day. And what we have to put up with regulations, I've got projects going all over the state of New Jersey, but they're coming to a close. To invest in the state of New Jersey today, not Republican or Democrat, is simply too risky. We're broke as a state. We want to get money. We want to live for today, and it just doesn't work.
Now, we're doing this right before Governor Murphy actually delivers his budget address.
By the way, great guy, great family, know the governor, and know...
But here's the thing.
Yes.
Beyond the personal side of it, I mean, he's been with us here, and he will be with us again. We look forward to those interviews with him talking public policy. But the governor argues that tax fairness, Steve Kalafer, also means that those who earn the most, the millionaires plus those who earn $1 million or more, we should tax them more. We need more of that revenue to pay for public schools in the state, to pay for the pension crisis in the state, to pay for free county colleges, for those who can't afford higher education. You say?
I say live within your means. America's had to adjust to a different circumstance. I'm on the boards of some of the finest organizations, New Jersey manufacturers,
right.
Different hospitals, RWJ. Everybody changed. They went from defined benefit plans, which were unaffordable, a promise to pay that couldn't be kept, to responsibility of the individual and the provider. That hasn't happened in the state of New Jersey.
You're talking about defined benefit plans for public employees?
Yes.
Well, how would that, well, wait a minute, but Steve, respectfully, playing devil's advocate, that has not been the deal. They have not been defined benefit plans. And I think what you're saying is the old agreements have to be re-examined?
That's correct. So if you call it by a different definition, the old agreements have to be redone. And the same thing with health care. Government has customers. Government's customers are the taxpayers. The government employees, and listen, I love them, they serve us.
They serve us every day.
Every day. There's no buts on that.
Including public school teachers.
Most importantly, public school teachers. But you cannot have your customers, the taxpayers, paying for benefits that are greater than theirs. It doesn't work.
But Steve, what would you say to those who argue that the way you get people to work in government, the way you get people to be public school teachers, because the salaries are not as competitive as in the private sector, is with these benefits, and without them, we wouldn't get the best people, you say?
I would say, let's do another compensation study with the exception of teachers who are woefully underpaid.
Agreed.
Woefully underpaid. Take a look at the different departments, line them up to other jobs in New Jersey, and you're going to find out they are not woefully underpaid. So the old argument, you go to work for government for less of a paycheck, for better benefits, well, I don't know where that changed up to a lower paycheck. Those paychecks are very competitive, and the benefits have become unaffordable.
You know, we're not going to know exactly what the governor's budget plan is until he introduces it. We'll follow it here on State of Affairs and check out NJTV News every night because Michael Aaron, David Cruz, and a great team with Mary Alice Williams will analyze it. But what we do know this, he does support the idea of a $15 an hour minimum wage. You say?
I say the market sets minimum wage. I don't have any full-time...
The market sets it?
Supply and demand of employees. I have a shortage of employees. I don't pay any full-time, talented individual whose services I need $15 an hour. They're making more than that. But I'll tell you what I say.
That's because you're that kind of employer, though, Steve. What about those who are not paying a livable wage?
Because the market does not place that talent at a certain amount. Let me just say this to you.
Sure.
The upside, I hire part-time college students. I hire senior citizens. No disrespect, they're not essential to the success of our business. I'm not going to hire them because I can't pay them $15
you mean if
an
the
hour.
government, sorry for interrupting, Steve, you're saying if the government mandated $15 minimum wage, hourly minimum wage, it would change your hiring practices?
It will change the benevolence of the people that I hire, senior citizens who I have fill in, college students who I really don't need, except I think it's a good thing as a responsible community employer to hire them. An employer is going to pay based on the value that they're getting. The days of the sweatshops are really over, and the governor's $15 minimum wage is not going to change for the better the lives of people who cannot go on a payroll or people that have to be in the shadows.
Steve, you think, I mean, again, you've talked to many governors.
Noble, by the way, noble, but not workable.
Unintended consequences, impact of public policy. You've spoken to and engaged and had the ear of several governors. Do you believe that Governor Murphy, even though he has a progressive agenda, and I don't think that's it, we don't editorialize on public broadcasting, he will say it himself. Do you think he is open to and understands the implications of that policy by itself?
He will at some other point. Governor Murphy has a good heart, and many of the things that he wants to do comes from a good heart. But run a business, and you'll find out what it takes. It's really that simple. He's not doing it for any other reason. He believes
in these things.
Deeply, right? But the unintended consequences will end up being devastating to small businesses, larger companies, everybody else that has to say, what's it worth to me?
Do you think we'll lose more wealthier New Jerseyans if some of these tax policies...
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I am in Florida. I am not a tax avoider.
But I have to tell you, you're a Jersey resident. I pay
it. But I have to tell you something, and it's got nothing to do with the deductibility of property taxes. New Jersey historically has had contempt for high taxpayers. Come on, right? The ATM's going to go on. I don't mind paying, but let's have a little respect.
Steve Kalafer has been paying for a long time. He is the chairman of Flemington Car and Truck Country Family Brands, and also a terrific minor league baseball team. Been out there. It's a terrific to watch the Somerset Patriots. I want to thank you for your point of view. And also, as everyone knows here on State of Affairs, we will continue to have others with different points of view on tax policy on the federal end and on the state end. But most importantly, we thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Patricia Teffenhart, Executive Director, New Jersey Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Good to see you, Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're doing this program in the spring of 2018, the Me Too movement. Where are we, and what is the opportunity before us?
That's a great question. And in fact, we ask ourselves what's the opportunity here pretty much regularly in our organization. Anytime high-profile people are talking about an issue that's so hard to understand or has lacked nuance throughout history, it's good. It amplifies the voice of people who have historically either not been heard or haven't felt as if they had a voice.
The issue is, or is it multiple issues?
It is the issue of sexual violence, which
Sexual violence?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Which runs a large spectrum, everything from sexual harassment to actual sexual assault and rape. And that's what the Me Too movement is doing, actually. It's giving voice to actions and behaviors all along the spectrum, as opposed to what's normally discussed as, just sexual assault and rape. All of these actions have impact for people.
How does it translate, potentially, into real action, policy, action in the workplace, changes in behavior, real change? How does it translate?
You can see it happening already. I mean,
you see it?
Yes.
What do you see?
The New Jersey State House yesterday, there were multiple committees that had bills relevant to this issue happening concurrently. I could only attend one committee at a time, so having to have other people submit slips in support or not in support of certain pieces of legislation that was happening.
To do what kinds of things?
Yeah, so we were actually in committee yesterday on behalf of the Campus Sexual Assault Task Force. And
the Campus Sexual Assault Task Force, which is?
We created legislatively created sexual assault task force under the previous administration that brought together a cohort of diverse professionals to talk about this issue to help inform policy direction. With new session, with new policy makers, the Assembly Higher Education Committee invited us to come in and brief the new committee members on our report and our findings. So campus sexual assault is something people have been talking about for a long time. I think now what people are starting to understand is it's not just campus sexual assault that needs our attention. What are we doing to prevent sexual assaults from happening before college and addressing it after college? It's a continuum.
I've often wondered about this. The role of men. The role of men who want to do the right thing. What is the right thing? Other than not acting in absurd and offensive and dangerous ways. What is the role for the rest of, quote unquote, us?
I think the role for men is the same as the role for women, honestly. We all have the same responsibility to be good citizens.
But we don't, men, what I'm trying to get at it is one of the things that struck me is that for men who know of other men, my sense is, I think we have some responsibility that we often, I'll speak for myself, I haven't spoken up to the degree that I should. And so my question is, what advice do you have for us?
So these are learned behaviors. Men aren't inherently sexual predators or inherently more dangerous. No, these are sort of learned conditions that allow people to get away with things.
Hold on, there are some men who are sexual predators.
Yes.
That's not the norm. I'm understanding what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure you're differentiating between those who just talk a certain way, act a certain way, are offensive in the workplace, and others who are true sexual predators.
Well, one of the problems is that what we get into in these kinds of conversations is pinpointing people in my movement as men haters and portraying all men as being
Not saying
evil.
that at all.
Okay, so I'm very conscious of that because it's not the case. In fact, our assistant director is an incredible feminist man. There are men that work in this movement as allies and leaders and people who are good at stepping forward and stepping back. The behaviors that allow bad men to continue to behave in harmful ways are behaviors that have been embraced by society. These connotations of toxic masculinity, right? That you have to be
What does that mean?
Like the alpha male, that you have to be uberly aggressive, that you have to dominate the conversation, dominate the physical space. Those are things that our society has embraced as being good for men. And if you think about how some of those similar conversations might happen for powerful women, women are perceived as overly aggressive, use a lot of bad words to associate with women that have those types of character traits.
Same behaviors as a guy.
Yep.
Different characteristics, different definition or different characterization.
Yeah.
So when Donald Trump says during the presidential campaign, seems like ancient history, right? So when Donald Trump says on that bus with Billy Bush what he said about women, you could just grab them by, and we don't say this on public television, but everyone knows what he said. Yes. And they like it. You just do it. What was that moment for you and those around you? He's the president of the United States.
Not surprising, honestly. Lots of powerful people get away with using that type of language. And
quote unquote locker room talk on the part of some around Trump, including the president, you say?
I say it's not surprising, which is also probably kind of sad.
I've never heard that in a locker room, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, and my son is 9, and I would be horrified if I ever heard him using words like that or allowing his friends to use words like that.
Same with our sons.
So I think that's sort of the crux of it. At somewhere in the life cycle of human development, we've allowed men, and you saw it in the media.
Boys to men.
Yes. You saw it in the media. You saw how many people were dismissive of it, like, oh, well, boys will be boys, men will be men. He dismissed it and said this is locker room talk. Yet most of us are horrified by that use of language. And to your original question about what do you do about that, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I have a lot of compassion for men who want to do something and don't know what to do, because those are also skills that haven't been taught. I think for an individual like you that has incredible influence and access to people who are powerful and influential, we would want you to call them out if you're in a room where they were to say something like that.
Should we do it publicly as well?
Yes, absolutely. If someone were sitting in this seat and they were to perpetuate harmful gender norms or to make a dismissive comment about a woman on the staff or a woman that you mutually know, to say, like, that's not cool. I don't appreciate that. You won't talk about women like that in my company. That's really strong. And that's where power and influence can be helpful for the movement.
You know, you talk about power and influence. You were at the State of the Union address with United States Senator Robert Menendez. Obviously, that was a great honor for you.
Yes.
What did it say that you were there with him in that moment?
I have to say that I am really cognizant of how many social justice issues impact the 9 million citizens of the state of New Jersey. And it was an honor to be the one person chosen to attend with United States Senator Bob Menendez and talk about this movement and this moment and the incredible work that's being done across New Jersey by our county-based rape crisis centers. He could have picked a number of really well-deserving causes and individuals, and the fact that he picked us also says a lot about where we are right now in this moment in time.
Patricia, we greatly appreciate the work you and your colleagues do every day on behalf of women for whom too long they have been victimized, and often not believed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is State of Affairs. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to welcome Brian Gragnolati, who is President and CEO at Atlantic Health System and Chair-elect of the American Hospital Association. Good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me here.
By the way, Atlantic Health System, describe the hospitals within the system.
Well, we have Morristown, Overlook, Newton, Chilton, and Hackettstown, as well as our rehab hospital.
You actually had one of your colleagues, Mike Marin from Holy Name, and they received an award that you received from the federal government. 5 stars for what and from whom?
From CMS, and we're real thrilled about that. It's about the quality of care we provide, and Mike's got a great organization.
Let's talk about this. Some of the challenges. I'm curious about this. While all sorts of folks, when we talk to in the healthcare industry, talk about the challenges they face, innovation is key. There is a physician-led network that you're involved in called what?
The Atlantic Alliance. And the Atlantic Alliance is really an opportunity for us to work with about 2,500 physicians who are still independent to help them improve quality and access to care and coordination of care.
Why does that matter?
You know, healthcare is about teamwork, and we're only going to do better if we work together. And I think as we've gone through these changes in healthcare, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, you're seeing this divide between physicians who choose to stay in private practice as well as physicians who choose to become employed. And what we're trying to do is bridge that gap because everybody's got a role.
Brian, you've talked a lot about the importance of access to quality health care. A, what does it mean? And B, what's the problem?
Yeah, so I think access is really in two parts. One is access to insurance, and then the second is access to care. And we need to work on both of those as a country. And that's what the ACA was trying to achieve in one of its parts.
The Affordable Care Act,
yes,
otherwise known as Obamacare.
Right. That's what it was trying to achieve, was this notion of access both to insurance and care. But the second part was about the affordability of care. And we need to work on all of those parts moving forward.
You know, the other part of this that fascinates me in the hospital-related programming we've been doing is the role of technology. How important has technology become, and will it continue to be, in providing quality health care, A, and B, in the way medical information is shared? Loaded question, I know.
Yeah, but you know, that's a great question, because when people think about technology, they think about what I did this morning, which was be in an MRI to get my Achilles tendon
Like, no
scanned.
joke, this is for real.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
so
we
that's
hope everything works
technology.
out, but go ahead.
That's technology,
But
right?
it's more than that.
It is more than that, and people don't often see that. Technology right now, think Amazon, okay? Think about how Amazon has really transformed the relationship that a consumer has with a retailer. In healthcare, each and every day, part of getting a better result is better communication, meaning everybody's connected on a health record, everybody sees the next step in their information. But more importantly, how do we use technology to drive waste out of the system, reduce the friction that patients feel when they intersect with the system, and provide better outcomes? That's the exciting part. There's a ton of innovation going on in that area, and we're part of that.
Well, you know what's fascinating to me about that whole question is electronic medical records, a piece of a much larger equation. What does it actually mean? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I've been confused by what it is and what it's not.
Sure. In very simple terms, an electronic health record is, you know that chart that's in your doctor's office?
Yes.
That's now available to all the folks that are caring for you in a common way. There doesn't have to be that physical transfer of information anymore. It's there electronically. At Atlantic, we're in the process of fully implementing Epic, which is our electronic health record, and we're spending $180 million to do that.
Why? Why make such a huge capital investment?
It's about safety and it's about quality. The more information that next step in your care is given, it means you're going to get a better outcome.
You know, Brian, we've talked to several hospital executives, and I often ask the question about public policy. You have this national role. By the way, tell everyone what the American Hospital Association is, and then I'll get to the question about policy.
Sure. I'm the chair-elect of the American Hospital Association. We represent the 5,000 hospitals and health systems in this country. We're based both in D.C. and Chicago. And when you look at all the analysis of those types of organizations, we are rated as the most influential group on the Hill.
In that context, what is the appropriate, in your mind, the appropriate role of the federal government, including Congress, you smile as I speak, in terms of making healthcare policy, creating healthcare policy, and undoing certain healthcare policies?
Sure. I think.
And where shouldn't they be?
Yeah, yeah. I think if you think about that from who pays for healthcare, and you begin to add up all the pieces, right? About 65 to 70% of healthcare is paid for by taxpayers. People always think about Medicare and Medicaid, but what about military medicine? What about retirees and dependents? What about government workers, state, local, federal? And when you add all that up, that's about 60 to 75% of the spend. You've got employers as the other roughly 30 or so, and then you've got some self-pay people. So when you think about policy, it's policy in general, but it's really about payment because it's taxpayer-funded health care.
Do you think the policymakers are often thinking about the payer in this?
No.
Does it feel like they are?
No, I think that that's where we get lost in this equation. Imagine if the government, on behalf of its taxpayers, thought about it as purchasing that amount of health care. Wouldn't we design the system differently?
It would look different, Brian?
It would look different. It would work differently, because the fundamental problem we have in the payment of health care is how fragmented it is today.
Final question. Is this the job you thought being a hospital CEO would be, A, and B, how much does it change every day?
So I started in healthcare as an emergency medical technician, working on an ambulance when I was putting my way through college. I am pleased and privileged every day to do what I do, but it's an entirely different world now.
You love this job?
I love it.
1
absolutely.
to 10?
10 plus.
With all the frustration.
You know, where else can you every day help a community over and over again, be healthy, be safer, and be happier? I love it. I love what I do.
Brian, we appreciate you joining us. Come back as the healthcare landscape continues to change every day. We appreciate it. Stay right there.
Thank you so much.
Stay right there. That is it for this particular edition of State of Affairs. Now let's continue the conversation. Follow me on Twitter at Steve Adubato, and I promise, God willing, we'll see you next week. Take care.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, Georgian Court University, Choose New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, Verizon, and by NJ Best. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. And by Insider NJ.
Hi, I'm Peter Rooney. In 2006, I lost my father to renal disease. He was on the waiting list for a new kidney, but did not receive one in time. Unfortunately, so many like my father have lost their lives while waiting for a life-saving organ. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and by informing people about this important decision. Because you can make a difference and save a life.